Coach, let's talk a little bit about the Texas game after watching the film and diving a little bit deeper into it. What more were you able to glean from that? Not just the effort defensively there, specifically in the second half, holding the Longhorns to 6 points and no touchdowns, and specifically the turnovers you guys were able to force, but also on the other side, what the Texas defense was able to do to you guys offensively and slow you guys down, especially at some important times in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I felt like we put together a really quality second half, and actually, from a point total standpoint, won the second half. Um, we kind of dug ourselves a hole there early. We weren't opportunistic enough early in the game, and against a good team like Texas, you're scratching and clawing to get back in it. We weren't able to close the ground we needed. I was proud of the way we settled in on defense. I wish we could have found that identity earlier in the game, but I did feel like we buckled down and made some stops and got the ball back. Offensively, we lost the point of attack, and when you lose a point of attack, it makes everything hard. Your run game has trouble finding space. Your pass game obviously is contested, and the pocket collapses quickly. And part of that is within our control, the fundamental technical aspects of our play, and not abandoning a technique in those moments, but actually, like, referring to your training and again, finding a higher level of performance within the individual or within the group. The other part, I think you have to credit Texas and what is, to me, one of the best defensive fronts in college football, and so there's a combination there. For us, it's finding a way to win. We came up 3 points short, and the win for me existed outside, the final plays of the game. It's again, early in the first quarter there, we start the right way. We surrender a touchdown on their second drive. We have the 4th and 1 that's penalized, that sets up their next possession of midfield, and that kind of gave way to a sequence where we just felt like we were taking on water the entire kind of first and second quarter. We finally settled in at the end of the second. We were able to get 3 points heading to halftime, but by the time the boat stopped rocking, it just was too late. So finding that rhythm early, not letting the 4th and 1 penalty kind of derail the progress we had made to that point, because the start of that game couldn't have gone any better from a standpoint of what we wanted to do. Against a good team like Texas, you can't afford to have a breakdown in a quarter like we did.
Coach, after the game, you mentioned to the guys that the focus now turns to avoiding a loss to Texas twice. Now, of course, everybody knows you're not playing Texas again this season, but that means allowing that to circle back to the Auburn week and let some of the things that happened in the Texas game, cloud your focus in the Auburn week. So what is that challenge of keeping your guys focused on beating Auburn as opposed to letting things linger from the Texas week?
Well, the point that I was making there, that I felt important just based off, what I was seeing within the room, was that, we were very disappointed, which we should be. I mean, we put a lot into this. We expect to win, and when you come up short, we knew what that game meant, and it was frustrating to us. And so I'm really, really talking more about the psychology of that moment. I think it's important to recognize that it's okay to be disappointed. We're not going to be discouraged or defeated twice. I think it's exactly what I said, something to that effect, which just means, like, how quickly can we take in the pain of the moment, learn from it, but then move on from it, because each week requires our full attention, our full focus, our full spirit. And if there's any sense of lingering disappointment that somehow starts to taint the prep that we need for Auburn, we're not going to be able to show up on Saturday and play the game the way it needs to be played. And in this league, no matter who you play or where you play, if you're not, disciplined, respectful, and playing with spirit, you're not going to find your highest level, and you'll pay for that in our conference. And that was the starting point of that message. And we've continued that. Now, we haven't talked anything about Texas since Sunday, but this idea that it's not who you play or where you play. It's how you play. We got to focus on our game, our strategy, our execution, our focus, our spirit. Those are the things that will allow us to have success no matter what.
Coach, you've said before that, going back to the month of December, you watched the New Mexico State Auburn game from last year. I think it was something like 10 times, and came away very impressed with their performance in that game to get the win. And I think that was the week after you guys played Auburn last year. What did you take from that? I know that's several months back, so I'm asking you to take me back there. But what did you take from that experience of, I mean, you could probably ace a final exam on that game, but by now, but what do you take from that? And do you still use that as a model this week, or was that more of an off season type thing for you and your staff?
Well, the game stood out to me because we had just played them. I'm not so sure that game wasn't 2 weeks after us. I can't remember, but I thought maybe I read that somewhere. So anyways, we can check that at some point.
Yeah.
But it was soon thereafter. And I just wanted to kind of drink in this idea of like, this is what we want to be doing. This is how we want to be playing. What does it look like? What's the anatomy of that game look like? And where are we missing? What pieces aren't there for us? And so none of it was about evaluating New Mexico State as a coaching staff or any of their players or none of that. It was just purely as someone who's passionate about the program we're building here, want to look at what the pieces, the formula of that game amounted to. And what I saw was a disciplined team, a tough team that was sound, solid, and simple on defense. It wasn't like they were running a lot of different things. In fact, I think the touchdown they gave up, they were playing a 3-deep zone, and Auburn's tight end kind of split the seam, and it was like a pretty typical shot play that just got in on the seam. But other than that, they rallied and tackled the ball. They got Auburn behind the chains, and they played well. Offensively, I saw the starting point of the things that kind of got me interested in Tim Beck, which was multiple personnel groupings, multiple formations, creative ways to run the quarterback. Obviously, watching Diego play stood out to me as who's this scrappy competitor, who is just finding the right place to go with the ball, always finding the soft spot. It seemed very well organized and very well executed. And so, I guess in that moment, it's just like, sometimes we can make this bigger than it is, let's be fundamentally focused. Let's have an identity. Let's play to that identity consistently. That's what winning teams do. And I think it was a great reminder of like, there aren't dramatic things ahead of us that need to shift. It's small things that will amount to big moments. As far as we're not spending time on that game this time around because we're a new team, and Auburn's a new team, and it's just at this point in the season they've accumulated a bunch of games, so have we. So we have an idea of what the systems are on both sides, and that's where the focus goes. And we need to go down and play our best, and just focus on that. If we can do that, we have a chance to win. We've proven that we can win these games. If we don't, then we leave it to chance. And this Auburn team is opportunistic and good. Obviously, they won a tough road game at Kentucky last week, and it feels like they're starting to settle in on an identity that's allowing them to unlock some performance that maybe hasn't been there early in the season.
Lastly, Coach, obviously everybody's a little banged up right now, dealing with bangs and bruises. I know Colby Taylor didn't play last week, and a couple guys got banged up in that game, including Diego Pavia. But what are you guys doing as a staff in terms of recovery this time of year? I know it's an all-season type of thing, but with more injuries naturally popping up, what are the recovery methods ahead of a week like this when you're facing another tough SEC opponent?
Are you asking as a staff how am I recovering?
Yeah, how are you recovering, Coach?
Not many people check on me like that, man. That means a lot. I understand what you're saying. We've trimmed our practice time down. Now we really started to do that coming out of the bye. So heading into the Alabama game that week. We had this additional Sunday practice. And then, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were condensed. We've kept that formula and maybe even trimmed a little further. So I think we were like 90 minutes yesterday, 80 minutes today. That's atypical. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I guess this time of year you're trimming down. I think past iterations of me have always felt like more and more, better, better. Like, let's, why aren't we out there for 2 hours? And obviously that can be a detriment to your team mentally, physically, emotionally, all that. So we'll take the pads off tomorrow. We did that last week. And even though I think I'm pretty proud of our availability right now. I think we're in really good position, and like KT's been able to come back and practice and has looked good. And other guys are working their way back. We also have a number of guys that are needing to take care of some flare ups or just physically depleted, and so that is impacting our training time. We're not getting the number of reps that we got early in the season, and maybe a player is only available for a portion of the practice. All of those things, we take the GPS data. A lot of times when we're talking about someone that we're trying to prepare to play, but also not overly tax the physical systems, we're going to put them on what we call a player load, which is just we're monitoring in real time the amount of running they're doing. And once they reach a specific yardage of load, we pull them out of practice. And most times that's set off a percentage based off their normal output in load. And that's a lot of technical terms just to say, we're paying attention to the science of it. We're making sure that our guys get the high speed yardage they need not to be exposed to hamstring injury. We're also making sure that we don't overload, particularly guys that are coming back from injury or are banged up. And if it's something that's like a shoulder or a wrist or whatever, we have ways to kind of work around contact at times, so that we can be as healthy as we can possibly be on Saturday. You want to see a fresh team out there every time we play. I believe we've been able to do that to this point. It just gets more and more challenging as the year goes on.
Now, Coach, I will say, I know you've been in the weight room with Coach Steiner, so I do hope you're staying recovered, staying hydrated, keeping the protein intake up.
Yeah, I don't know that Steiner has gotten the message on my recovery, because every time I go in there, he pushes me a little further, but I guess that's okay for me right now.
I love it. Well, Coach, good luck on Saturday. Safe travels, and thanks again for taking the time.
Thanks, Billy.